They're broken down and defeated, determined, busy and confused, sleeping. You're dying while I wait you to get started on the journey chosen, wasted, no selected. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile. Silver sand jaded, they're not coming, they're broken down and defeated. You are dying while I wait you to get started. You are dying while I wait you to get started. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky, yeah. Crush me in my smile. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile.
I'm a motherfucking unicorn, a one-of-one. Divide being the love and light, the enlightened one. My karma is interstellar, I live by truth. Fighting evil, my scars are living proof. Protecting you from the storms with all my might. Love me, I will treat you right. You ever cross me, it's the last thing you'll ever do. With my crown of thorns, I'll wreck you. I ain't playing, yo, Bryan hard, call me a saint. Too bad Chris, because Bigfoot knows my name. I'm a messenger of God, with loyalty I serve, taking out all evil with his holy word. A true Knights Templar, sword in hand, slice you up, bury you in the sand. I'm a motherfucking unicorn, you'll never find anyone like me. Born in the Bronx, raised in NYC, so listen up, take heed. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. A true Knights Templar, sword in hand, slice you up, bury you in the sand. I'm a motherfucking unicorn, you'll never find anyone like me. Born in the Bronx, raised in NYC, so listen up, take heed. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
everybody, welcome to Third Eye Live. Where you want to figure out how your consciousness, your third eye, your intuition, and all that spooky woo stuff actually gets you to move you, propel you into the direction you are in. I am your host, Bryan Bowden. So, Bryan, we'll get into that because we have other sirs in the audience as guests tonight. I wanted to stop by and let Jacko know that it ain't Coolio, brother. It's my music. On the rap side. I want to thank Straw Dogs being in here. Mark Eddy, Michigan UFO sightings and paranormal encounters. That's Wayne. And then of course we have Michelle. The other side. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say, Michelle. Hal and Samson, and a few others. We're going to get that started. Before we bring in the guests, I just want to say that I will be at the Crossing Realms Conference. The information is on that little thing that's scrolling by there. You'll find our guest names listed as well as a link to their podcast. It's also in the show notes. So please check them out. They have an incredible podcast we're going to go and get into, and it gets better and better and better and better. Yes, if you want to be a guest, email me, thirdeyeliveshow@gmail.com. And I promise you, my assistant will take a look at it and send it to me. I don't have an assistant, but Crossing Globes Conference, September 19th to 20th. And I'm just going to show you the little video I made. We have to do another one because basically what happened is they added a few more people, but here we go. This is a little bit of a promo video for you guys. So enjoy it and take it away.
No sound, no sound. Hold on. Got to make my life better. And we're going to put that on the input and that on the input. Do you hear me now? Hopefully that works. Thank you very much. If that's better, that's better. I got to work on my audio at this point. So I'm going to bring in my guests. They are Dave Ferrigno and Alex Aldea, brothers of the Arcana podcast. There's Dave and here's Alex. And let me move myself down. Do I sound better with these headphones on?
You
Way
sound
better.
a million times better.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm having an issue with my Rodecaster 2. So that's just going to cost me even more money.
Sorry to hear that.
No. It's
What else is new?
the price of stardom, right, folks? They would.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know what? It sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's been, I was using it on Spaced Out Radio, and I've been getting a little bit of a problem with it here and there. So I'm going to do my best to probably get a new microphone. Well, the microphone's good. I think it's the board. So maybe the cable of the board. So I'll just be doing some tests and see if someone can come in and go, yeah, I was thinking, so these two guys up here are my brothers, Alex Aldea and Dave Ferrigno. And much love to them for being on the broadcast. They had me on their show, Brothers of the Arcana. So before we start, I know that JV's in the house, the Paranormal Newfoundland podcast and BOG team.
Oh, yeah.
And I introduced you to JV, which was great.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, which works out
She's
really,
awesome.
really well.
Super cool.
Yeah, she's a really great lady. But a lot of other people don't know who you are, and there are a whole slew of people that are right now in chat, including the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. And that's with Wayne and Michelle. Michelle's in there, and there's another guy in there inside the Jackal's Head show, and there's a few of them. So let's give a brief bio of you gentlemen, your background first, and then we'll talk about how this all came about. So
Absolutely.
you pick it.
Well, I'd like to
wanna
start
arm
out by
wrestle?
saying that I'm a motherfucking unicorn.
Yes,
And,
you are.
I love that song, Brian. That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was a
Super
great
cool.
opening song.
You know what? I was toying.
rocking out in the background. I was like,
I was toying
like-
with like, do I want to do that or not do that? And I said, you know what? Pardon the French, my podcast, fuck it. That came about because I met a couple of people, and they're like, I've never met anyone like you. I said, you never will. I said, I'm a motherfucking unicorn.
That's right.
And then I started writing it, and then someone in the Bigfoot community pissed me off. There's a line in there, he said, this guy's insane. So that's where Reinhardt calls me insane. Guess what, Chris? Bigfoot knows my name. It's a little jab. It's just a fun thing. But what a great entrance song, right? My youngest
Really
daughter
liked it.
loves it.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
freaking
Thank you.
awesome.
My friend, Ron McGrath, he goes by another name. He's also a research investigator of the paranormal. I want to introduce you guys to.
Yeah,
He wrote
awesome.
the opening song called Crush My Smile, and then he made it slowed, and I just love the song. I said to him, you got to use this song for a show if you ever get a show. And he's like, well, I'm like, well, then I want to use it. So I get to use it. So, and it's a good show.
There you go.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Alex, do you want to go first, alphabetical order, or because Dave can, is a lot bigger than both of us.
Yeah, Dave can beat us up, but not virtually. Haha.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. Alex Aldea, co-host of Brothers of the Arcana. I am a Freemason and a Templar and a bunch of other stuff that we could potentially get into in terms of non-Masonic mystical stuff. Just got back from a 10-day meditation retreat doing a Vipassana, which is pretty awesome. I want to talk it over with Bryan anyway. We're going to do a show about it, which is pretty cool. But it's a no talking retreat. So imagine me not talking for 10 days.
No,
yeah.
no, there's
Unheard
no way.
of. Absolutely
Unheard of.
unheard of.
Yeah. So no phones, no other stuff. And you're just you can't read, you can't write, you can't look at anyone, and it's you and your brain and a meditation cushion for 10 days. It was really an experience. It was like a boot camp, basically.
Like, was this in like West Virginia in the mountains? I mean, like, you can't look at anybody.
It was in Delaware in the ghetto. It's in Claymont, Delaware, at a place that was actually an abandoned orphanage that they bought for like very little money, and the place is haunted. It is 100% haunted. My alarms kept turning themselves off all the time. And I would miss class and stuff like that. I had 2 alarm clocks going at the same time, and my alarms would turn off. Other people's blankets got wished around and moved a whole bunch of stuff was going on. Absolute paranormal craziness.
How'd you find
this
out about it
place.
if no one can talk?
So a buddy of mine and a buddy of ours, I should say, who's also Mason. Exactly. He's a clinical neuropsychiatrist, Freddie Starr, who was also on the show. He did this Vipassana training for a while after he had the unfortunate situation that he had on the show. You should have him on the show, by the way. He's a really cool guy and a great guest, and I'm sure he would do the show. But regardless, I'm a lawyer by trade. I'm an actor, and a bunch of other stuff right now. A little bit of a crossroads in life, but my creative outlet, as well as Dave's, is doing this podcast. So that's kind of our raison d'etre right now. Not to get too French on you, but yeah, there you go. Born in Romania, came here in '84, and been flying the libertarian flag ever since. So that's cool. Me in a nutshell.
And David? Very, very knowledgeable. Both these gentlemen are really, really knowledgeable. I'm not just saying because we're brothers. They know their stuff. So, but I appreciate the background, Alex. And now we're going to swap you with the left square, Dave, and get him to come down to the Family Feud and give your background.
Hey, everyone. Well, it's a pleasure to be on the show, Bryan. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Dave Ferrigno, co-host of Brothers of the Arcana podcast. I'm sure Alex was just passing notes back and forth with all the people at the Vipassana, but I'm kidding. But background. So I would say I'm an intuitive empath. I've been a paranormal researcher, paranormal investigator for a number of years. Growing up, used to see all kinds of fun paranormal activity and other things, and didn't necessarily understand it at the time, but, kind of went along with it. By day, I work as a project manager, business analyst, and banking, but, I'm part of various esoteric orders as well, and just overall like to explore the unknown and try to find the truth.
Wait a minute. You guys are Freemasons?
The truth is out there.
You guys see Illuminati? I got to ask for everybody in the audience. Are you guys the Illuminati?
No, it's too expensive to join the Illuminati. You have to give like $50,000 or something to join that crap.
I get that all the time. It's like, you're the Illuminati. I'm like, check my bank account. I'm not the freaking Illuminati.
Yeah, I'm not in the Illuminati. I'm not a Nigerian prince. I am none of that stuff. So,
we're over there at Bohemian Grove every week. Like,
no,
definitely not.
Praise the owl, baby. Praise the owl.
We got a question from Harold just for Dave right now.
Sure.
Are you a Veda or Kappa Dusha? What dosha?
He's a Kappa. He's a Kappa. Look at him. He's obviously a Kappa.
Well, there's your answer right there. So, how does two different ends of the spectrum come together and form a podcast?
Yeah, we're both on the spectrum, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm so there. It's beyond belief.
Most certainly special.
Yes.
Hey, can I borrow a lighter? I need to light my incense. Oh, wait a second. You're not here.
Sure. I got a few of them in front of me. Maybe I'm a Kappa. I don't know. But yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say, so what's kind of funny and interesting, our origin story on this podcast is Alex and I were having cigars, as we constantly do. We had cigars earlier tonight, actually.
Just minding our own businesses.
Yes.
Just minding our own business when all of a sudden, yes, go ahead.
And typically we have some very deep conversations intellectually, just contemplation, reflection, whatever else. And we're just like, we should start recording some of our conversations because this is really cool stuff. And then we said, yeah, why don't we just start a podcast? So at that point, we then started thinking about doing a podcast. And then we're just like, what are we going to call this? And Alex still probably curses at me for that one. But Yeah, that
call it
was
something
really the
that's
origins of
explained
it.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. So Arcana, for those that need to know what it is that may not know, is a compendium of arcane things. Why are we not called Brothers of the Arcane? Because Dave was prepared to die on this hill. And so we are called so we're Brothers of the Arcana. But
Well,
Dave's
it was
100%
the
right.
adjective versus the noun. So it's like, how do we want to go with this?
Exactly.
But the
How do you-
plural was arcana, right? So
Yes.
I mean, and it works. I sent the first their first guest was fake Bam Margera, another brother. And
Fake Bam
Eric was my second guest on the show. I started off with a buddy of mine, Ron Murphy, because we did Inside the Goblin Universe. But when Eric came on, let me tell you, people were just blown away by him. And what he does, and I said, go check him out on Brothers of the Arcana podcast, and I want people to check you guys out because
Thank you. Appreciate that.
let me tell you, there are people like you always get the same people like, oh, I'm trying to do I want to be like do a Joe Rogan podcast. They don't need to be Joe Rogan. They are their own podcast, and it's. If you like the intellectual portion of the program with Joe Rogan and the sophistication, but also get a little bit layman in things, then you're going to love Brothers of the Arcana podcast. Go like it, subscribe it, give it away. It makes a great Christmas gift. And
It's
what's
a
coming up,
stocking
Easter?
stuffer.
It is 100% a stocking stuffer for
And
everybody.
if you subscribe, Dave will show up in nothing but a stocking.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
I got my Borat banana hammock.
that green thing that and
It's a sight.
That'll
For sure.
scare some people.
oh my god, I thought that if I had like really bad neighbors, I'd put that green Borat bathing suit on and just start doing calisthenics or whatever outside.
Right in the front
Just,
yard.
oh my god, he's outside again.
Just start stretching.
Floridian thing to do.
Let me stretch it out.
Yeah, stretch it out, and just to freak him out and like, I don't want to, I'm not going in the backyard. I'm not going down there whatsoever. But yeah, it's just great. I mean, I remember talking with Alex and I talked to Dave and then I kind of hinted at it with I kind of hinted at it at one point with Alex about something podcast based because there's some writing involved coming out, and I'm still trying to get you to continue your writing.
I will. What Brian's talking about is I'm in the process of writing a book on how men can become better men through the use of sacred space. Being a Mason and coming from a fraternal background, it's not that it doesn't apply to women, because obviously all of this is unisex and makes total sense either way. It's just we are used to speaking to a male audience. Typically, we do a lot of mentoring inside the fraternity. And so that's kind of where we come from that. So our show was kind of about, how can we improve men's lives, really everyone's, but speaking to men in this case, through all kinds of different putting tools in their toolboxes.
Right.
Am I on fire? I am not. I am. I am
actually. The incense.
Yeah. So it's the incense. We typically burn incense on the show. It's a metaphysical thing, and so it's kind of that's one of the things I'm passionate about, metaphysics, what it can do for us, the rules of the universe, and how they manifest. So a lot of the really cool stuff about that. Dave handles the paranormal aspect and ghosts and whatnot and cryptids and more of Brian's bailiwick. But I connected with Bryan because Bryan is a remote viewer and a psychic, even though sometimes he doesn't like to believe that he is. But I very, very much believe in his talents, and I think he's freaking awesome. And he was right on at a pivotal moment of my life. Bryan gave me some insight that still to this day, well, I appreciate it, Jackal. I'm worried about you too. And
Alex, Angel's a great guy. He has a couple of shows, and I think Inside the Jackal's Head, you guys would be great for it, for
Oh,
an
that'd be
audience.
fun. That'd be super
You know
fun.
what? I mean, yeah, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate the kind words. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
I've
We had Bryan on the show, and once he gets going, he's a force of nature.
Yeah, we were joking when he was on our third episode, and we
Yes.
just said, do we even have to be here? Because Bryan could just talk the whole time, so it was
Well,
fantastic.
and he talks to some pretty cool stuff. In fact, I guess our biggest video in terms of podcasting stuff on what was it, TikTok, I believe, and he's talking
Yeah.
about an octopus
Yeah.
and everything, and it made like
Exactly.
crazy viewing.
It was
For, like,
insane.
Yeah,
It was
had like
insane
100
views.
views in a day. It was just like
100,000 views in a day. Yeah, it was
an
like
octopus.
totally
It's
out
like,
there.
really?
You know what? We were doing the Grandmasters golf outing last year,
Oh yeah,
and because
that's a great
that's
time.
when I did the show, and Eric's like, first of all,
Dave's won one of those or several.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we actually won 3 years in a row, and then the last time I played in it, which wasn't last year, it was the year prior, we tied for the lead, and they didn't even acknowledge us. So my buddies that I play with were just like, "F these guys, we're out."
Yeah, we're out. We were kind of fooling around more so than playing, and then a couple of the brothers got really like frustrated. So I drove one or two of them back, and then I came back out with Eric, and they misspelled Eric's name. He was Eric Magson or something like that, and I was
Nice.
Brian Bolini or like
Excellent.
that. So I'm like, Max said, "Look, just hit the damn ball already." He goes, "Shut up, Bolini."
The great Bolini.
The great Bolini. So we're there, and Eric goes, "Wow, your episode's really getting some views," and I don't really focus on it. I looked and I thought there was like 1,500. I said, "Yeah, it's about 1,500." He goes, "Are you out of your mind? Try 50 something thousand." And I'm like, "What?" And I go look, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And then I looked at okay, Alex turned me on to a program that makes little snippets out of your videos.
Yes.
And
Opus AI. Good stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. And so I'm looking at this thing about the octopus, and I'm seeing like the last time I checked it, and I haven't checked it since. I mean, I did see 179,000, and I'm like,
yeah,
can I
it's up
get
there,
like
man.
can I get like 0.25% of these people to subscribe to both the channels, please?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be great. That would be great, because then you can get like super chats or whatever they are. I was just blown away. I was just talking about how an octopus can change at will. And yeah, I can talk a lot. And I had these bracelets on. If you could see Alex's face when I was there, it's like clinking. You hear clinking, and he just looks at me, dude. It looks
he's like,
killed.
"Take him off now."
Yes.
Well, look, I suffered from a certain amount of misophonia. For those that don't know what that is, it has certain sounds that evoke a fight or flight response, and that was just getting to me, man. And but now after my meditative retreat, I'm much more chill.
So do they just teach you how to use like the 3 fingers of death to stop me, take them off?
That's right. It was just a little dim mock action, like.
Yeah. So I looked and I took them all off, and he was just very happy, and I'm like, I'm taking them off now. Yeah, it was so cool. Good. So, but
take off those bracelets, Bryan. Don't make me come down there.
Don't make me come down there. So let me tell you something. On episodes with these guys, I mean, a lot of the people that have come on the episodes, correct me if I'm wrong, are within the fraternity.
Yes, a lot of them. Although we don't make a thing out of it, really. We acknowledge it, but we don't try to make money on the fraternity. For a bunch of reasons. But
it's kind of, it's not that you're not making money on the fraternity, but it is a source of brotherhood, and a lot of these conversations, start in a lodge, and not the temple of a lodge. We have to be we're going to skirt a lot of things here, because there are certain it's not a secret society, it's a society with secrets, and
Right.
if you really want to know anything, Google it. Okay.
Well, and then you'll
Or
just
if
be confused with all the nonsense. But
Right.
yeah,
But
True.
if you're very interested in it, you could always go down to a local lodge, or I will wager a lot of people that you may know are brothers, and they may some talk about it and some don't. Outside of the fraternity, how did you started getting? How are you trying to get some of these knowledgeable guests into, the shows?
it's a great question. Dave, you want to chat a little
So
bit about this?
yeah, so it's interesting. So a little backstory. Alex and I were masters the same year, and
Mhm.
that's actually how we became close friends and fast friends. And a lot of the individuals, because we have a lot of interests that are the same, esoteric interest, deep philosophical interest as well, you just kind of cross their paths, right? Like
Yeah.
attracts like. So obviously, there's a lot of people that are gravitating towards us from that perspective. And we've been reaching out to a lot of friends. We've gotten some referrals from individuals we had on the show. Like when Tim Hogan came on, he recommended quite a few people, like Scott Walter as an example, that we had
Right.
on the show.
Yeah.
Tim introduced us to Scott, who's also a
Right.
Freemason, but
Yeah.
fantastic guy, talks about the hooked X and the
Great.
Knights
Great.
Templar and everything.
Yeah. So
So
You
these,
should have Scott on your show too, Brian. Honestly,
I
he's
yeah,
fantastic.
we could definitely
I
put you in touch with him. He's a great guy.
100%, and I'd love to talk to Tim as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, Two great, fantastic, like two-parter episodes worth every minute of watching. The stuff that
Thank you.
comes out of these things are, I don't want to give it away, because I don't want, I'm not one of those spoilers, like, hey, Darth Vader, Luke's father. I'm not going to do that to you, but I promise you, Scott Walters from American Unearthed, is it? I think that
Mhm.
was the
No, they
Or
do Secrets of the Templars, which
yeah,
is on the Gaia Network.
Oh, okay.
So him and Tim co-host that. And look, I mean, man, I would love to have a show on the Gaia Network. I think we would all kill in a show like that.
That would
It would be a
great.
lot
That
of
would be
fun for
great.
all of us.
yeah, he
But
was.
yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
there's also History's Greatest Mysteries. There was Secrets of the Viking Stone. There was a couple that he was on, but he
But the
talks
one,
extensively about the Kensington Runestone in Minnesota and
mhm.
carbon
yeah,
dating that.
and the
So
Hooked
the difference
X.
is Tim is a grandmaster of an esoteric order called OTSI, I believe,
Right.
or OSTI. I don't remember one of the two. And anyway,
Yeah.
he comes from a lineage that empowers him to create that. So he is privy to a lot of knowledge, being grandmaster of the order. Scott comes at it from a different perspective. Scott's a scientist, first and foremost. He's a forensic geologist. All right. So just starting there, he was not woo-woo at all. At all. And so, but he comes to it honestly by the fact that he examined the Kensington Runestone. He could not account for the idea of how it could have come to exist in Minnesota, except if the Templars had somehow made it to Minnesota way earlier than everybody thought they would ever have been there. And then from there, you move into the idea of vaults around the United States and around the world, which if you've read Holy Blood, Holy
Including Oak
Grail,
Island.
correct, Oak Island as well. Although apparently, if you listen to the podcast, Oak Island was emptied out shortly before the American Revolution to pay for the revolution, in essence.
Right.
And so that's very interesting.
And that's his contention, that it was emptied out. Their contention, it was emptied out. These two brothers that are searching for the gold in the ruins and the Ark of the Covenant aren't going to find anything.
Listen, they found a ton of money by making that show for 16 seasons. It's kind of like Ice Road
I agree
Truckers,
with you.
where you're
Yeah,
like, fall through the ice, fall through the ice. I'm watching
yeah.
16 seasons of guys driving on the ice and nothing happening. Not obviously you don't want anyone to fall
I
through the
also
ice, God
see in the
forbid.
comments
But, you know.
there's an ask as a Kensington runestone related to Oak Island, so it's not technically
It makes
related.
sense. Yeah.
It's in a sense because it's Templars, but
Right.
if you actually look at Newport Tower, that corresponds to the Kensington runestone
Yes.
because there's a keystone within there that, according to Scott Walter, if you follow at I think it was 17 degrees northwest or whatever it is, he said that actually leads you right to Kensington, Minnesota, and then from there there's also a Templar vault beyond that.
The Newport Tower, you mean that windmill, Dave? Surely that has nothing to do with
that
what we're
weird
talking about
windmill
here.
that has no support structure whatsoever. It was a green mill, sure.
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
It's
boy.
actually pretty funny when you go there and visit, because there's a little museum right there, and they're just like, yeah, it was definitely a windmill or a grist mill or something.
Oh, sure it was. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What were they grissing?
Grissom the Gristle.
So
You know,
the Kensington runestone, I believe, if I remember correctly, was 1682, right? So
right.
or
I
actually,
believe so, yeah.
sorry, it was 1362. My apologies. So it was prior to Columbus. Not that Columbus actually made it to America, because he went to the Caribbean, but that's a whole other topic. So
Yeah, you know, this is where it gets crazy, because there'll be people that are fighting. History is written by the victors, right?
The victors,
So
right.
there, but if there are people that are within higher orders or raise at a higher vibration, we'll just say, they're not going to let you know that, you know, especially if they're running for their lives or protecting what is virtually the cup of Christ, and Christ, maybe Christ himself. They're not going to say, hey, yeah, we went to the new world. You know, we went there. They're not going to lead that to you. They're going to say, do what they did to Shakespeare. And we're going to have a guest on that's going to be talking about how Shakespeare did not pen 99% of what he's done, which is going to be good. And we're doing it on Shakespeare's death, by the way.
oh,
That'll
fun.
be cool.
How apropos. So there's going to be no test. No need for cliff notes. Mark Eddy will be there. And I want to introduce you guys to Mark Eddy for guests as well. He gets some great
That'd
guests.
be great.
And he's
And
getting guests.
we're both hunting for Randall Carlson. We have to have him on the show.
Well, you have two people in this chat right now, the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters, and Michelle, who is the other half of that had Randall on the show. I was, you know, chatting with him, and he said, "Oh, you're a brother." I said, "Yes." And he says, "I'd love to sit and lodge you." I said, I'd welcome that. And so I'm trying to get that information. And once I do, it's the circle of life. However,
Of course.
I will tell you that they had Randall on, and Randall is just out of this world. It was a great episode that they put on, and it should have garnered a ton of watching, because there are people that follow him, but they didn't get it as much. So there may be a little bit of shadow banning going on. You know, so we'll work on that too, but we'll figure it out.
We've experienced some of that on TikTok, to be perfectly honest. TikTok's very frustrating as a platform for many reasons. But like the whole like if you're we used to smoke because obviously we started this whole thing smoking cigars and drinking bourbon and talking about stuff. So you know we wanted to continue that. And you know, weirdly enough, the podcast studios don't want to let us smoke and drink in the podcast. We are drinking in the podcast, but not smoking.
Go figure.
Go figure.
Yeah. But
that's why
people rebelled that they didn't like us smoking on the thing, and TikTok wouldn't put our videos up. They wouldn't put them on the For You page. So very
but they were actually removing videos even if we had like incense burning in the background. It was just like, oh, you're smoking.
They're so restrictive. It's crazy.
It's like, what do you mean we're smoking? It's like, it's incense.
It's China. Everybody smokes. When a baby comes out, they give you a pack of cigarettes. China.
This is true.
Yeah. China. You know, it is frustrating.
We got a podcast, a very good podcast.
It's a very good one. I got banned.
Some people say it's a great podcast. Yeah.
I really do think it's a great podcast. I'm going to go do a screenshot to it in a moment. But I woke up one morning and all I did was repost stuff that related to Tennessee, North Carolina, Asheville, and the next thing is your band, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud
I'm
because
proud of it.
I'm going to tell you why I'm proud of it. Because what I was doing is trying to inform as many people about the truth of what's going on,
Right.
and that's literally what you guys are doing too. In a
Yeah,
in a
that's
in
exactly
a
what we're trying to
roundabout
accomplish.
yeah, when you have Scott Walter on, I think he's a PhD, Dr. Walter, right? Um,
I believe so.
you know, this guy studied this. This guy spent a lot of money. He doesn't make a ton of it now. He's probably making more because of doing the studio stuff or
Sure.
whatever. And he's telling you everything you said is a lie. And then Michelle, who is the co-host of the other show, she said, when you figure how vast history is, there's no way any school could cover it all. It's all about developing a love for wanting to know more. And
100%.
that's exactly what these guys, my brothers, and I'm very proud to call them my brothers. It's great to see them. I literally was missing going, being up north in New Jersey. That's where I'm a Mason, Freemason, and there I go. They're on the screen. I put you guys on the big screen in their bedroom. I'm sitting there, going to the episode, and I'm like, "There's my brothers. Oh my God, he's my brother," and it's just, God, I want to be part of this conversation because I have questions too. You know,
Sure.
so
Makes total sense. But
yeah,
so the idea is we're all attracted by the mysteries of what of humanity, where we're from. I mean, for me, it was two things. It was the discovery of the temple complex in Turkey, which was absolutely Göbekli Tepe,
yep,
and the other temple complexes that are even older, and the book written by Bryan Murarescu, who you should definitely try to have on the show. We're going to try to say who wrote the Immortality Key. And what you come to find is, he would go to the Vatican secret archives, and he would go to the library for the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, which is the modern day euphemism for the Inquisition, which never went away. They just changed the name of it.
yep,
So, but what you find is the librarians and the caretakers of these libraries don't know what's in them, because these libraries were not meant as research bodies. They were meant as a deep dark hole they throw stuff into and forget about.
right,
Like when they found tons of Mayan writings that were lost for hundreds of years, and the Maya they were taken away and basically cast into this deep dark hole called the Vatican archives. So it's fascinating. And even the librarians themselves, now this is many generations later, right? They don't even know what's in there, so they were interested to find out exactly what's kind of in there.
yeah.
It's a really fascinating thing.
I mean, that's one of the questions. I mean, people like, if you can get to any resource, out there, where, like, give me your top three, and the Vatican is right up there. I think it's like, people say the Akash records, go into the main source, which I swear I had an experience, and I don't want to go through this whole dreams versus experience. Dreams are a vague experience. You're actually doing it. When you lie down and you go to sleep, that's when we all get connected to source again. And you go up and you get all your information gets sucked into the big computer, and then they download to you what they want you to do, or things that certain tasks. And in the process, if you're enlightened, and these brothers happen to be enlightened, there's some people in the chat that are, you may get more than just that. But it was at night. I walked out of this darkness. Everything looked like Greek architecture, almost bronze, like a bronze gold. Um, so it's kind of like that type of gold right there, and
Oh, there
that's
you
my
go.
name. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was kind of, I want to say, heavenly, and it was very it looked like white clouds and puffiness and some blue sky. And I walked out, and there was a whole series of steps, like it was something out of Rome or Greek architecture. And I walked down to a little patio, a plain filled with grass, and then I would walk up, and I can see that if I go straight ahead, it goes one way, but I wanted to go to the left, and someone said that's the Hall of Records, that's the source, and I was just about to go, and then I was pulled away from that vision. So maybe they don't want me to know, but
So, what's interesting to that point, Brian? I've
yeah.
done guided meditations to try to access the Akashic Records, and I've actually entered what I would describe as like a room, but I did see columns, like you were saying, and like a huge temple and everything. But when I was inside the structure, I actually walked in and I opened a book that was on the table, but I was literally stopped, and they said, "You can't go past that page."
Really?
And there was nobody there with me, but there was like a voice that just said no. And when I tried to flip past it, it was just blank. And I was just kind of like, and I asked somebody about it that was pretty knowledgeable, and they said it was just because they don't want you to see it. You don't have access to it yet.
Look, we're living a drama, right? So this gestalt that we live in, Matrix, call it what you will, the whole idea, and Dave can talk a little bit more about the shining of the lasers while doing DMT, and you start seeing the Matrix, literally the information floating down out of that. But so the question is, you can't flip ahead of the play. We're all actors in this play doing something, whatever that something is, and whatever the reason why we're doing this to begin with, this whole thing, called life. So that's the question. It's like,
I'm gonna beg to differ with you on that, Alex. I think there are some of us that are. They use the term vibrating at a higher frequency, like the great masters. And when you vibrate at a higher frequency, you do. I think you have achieved a certain amount of qualifiers that they know that you're not going to take it and go, by the way, next Tuesday you're dropping dead. Like you're not going to go and do that. I think there are certain things that we're allowed to see. Now, of course, you may not have been at it, Dave, right? I mean, it's kind of interesting because I've had those. I don't have guided meditations, and I don't have people helping me with that. But when I've gone in and I've done my remote view or meditation for getting answers, I saw somebody getting married to somebody else. I saw this wedding, and it was actually, I know it was me. I was getting married. I know my youngest daughter was next to me. I had nobody else there. This woman was there. It was outdoors. And so I thought it was one woman who, and I mentioned that, well, I saw you getting married, which I did. I saw her getting married. And I was like, she goes, what do they look like? I said, oh, can I tell her? And a voice said, no. Like, no. And I'm like, I'm looking like, well, what, can I tell her that she's getting married or going to be getting, yes. Can I tell her, describe the gentleman? No. Could I give little hints? And it was, I had to go back and forth with whatever this power was in order to get somewhat of permission. Which
and
is
Brian,
weird.
let's be honest, you done screwed up and said some stuff and you paid for it.
Oh, me getting married or
no. Like, because you very casually let some stuff slip that you probably shouldn't have, and you got slapped for it.
In all seriousness, relating to that scenario, no.
I thought you did.
No, it goes deep. It goes deeper than that. There's another situation where the person was going to be in trouble, and
that's the one you were talking about.
In trouble, yeah. And I'm like, I'm like, screw it. I got to tell somebody. If I get information about someone going to get hurt or whatever, and I care about somebody or whatever, I'm going to tell you. And the problem is, in that process, you were talking about it. Alex said, let's not jump ahead of the play. We have to go through each chapter. But it's the truth. Like, your path is your path. Everything that, Dave, you have done in your path, and Alex, you've done, and I've done, all led us to come together, to meet. So yeah, I kind of subscribe to what you're saying though.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we have I will set up a message for you guys, Wayne and Michelle.
Yeah,
Great
we'll definitely
show.
jump on the show with them.
That
Great
would be an honor
audience.
for
Love
us.
to
We'd
be.
love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So and we'll
So,
get that going on.
so here's a question then. Do you
Yes,
feel
sir.
that there could be alternative realities, or, because I'll give you an example. We had Paulo Santos on our episode, and that was episode
Man,
6, if I
what a
remember
show.
correctly.
Woo.
So Paulo, during COVID, he contracted COVID right when it first came out. Just to the story, he
Bad
flatlined. He flatlined, died, and essentially went to hell, went to heaven, and
Is
then
this the
came back.
nameplate? The nameplate?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
the nameplate. Exactly.
Keep going.
That thing
Really
was
fun
nuts,
episode. But what was interesting is he actually watched his kids grow up, his grandchildren grow up, his great grandchildren. He said he also had an affair. So there was all these like alternative lives that he was either a part of them or weren't. So he saw his
Right.
kids grow up with him in their lives, and he also saw without being in their lives. So it's kind of interesting because maybe that wedding, was that an alternative reality or was it something different?
Okay, so I've never had a view of an alternative reality or a different timeline. You know, I had 3 people. Oh, you're probably seeing a different timeline or a different, whatever. So far, I have not had that. But you have to understand that. I mean, during that whole process, I started getting past life regressions without asking for them.
Right.
I was in certain spots. I think what I was seeing is this was a path. They keep choosing, and this lifetime, they keep making the same effing mistake over and over again. And because that they're doomed, nothing will go the way it's supposed to. I talked to a psychic. We had him on our show. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. John
Who,
Russell.
Carl? Oh,
No. I'm actually calling Carl up and trying
you
to
know
get
we
him
got
on.
him on the show. Did you? I don't know if you saw that episode, but it was
I did-
freaking awesome.
Yeah. That was a great
by the
episode
way,
with Carl.
Yeah.
Do you so I'm actually curious. I want to ask you a question about remote viewing because
Sure.
Carl said that he remote viewed the dark side of the moon and it freaked him the fuck out. He said he would not tell us what's there. He said he has nightmares about it.
Well, he
Mattson's
also
saying
said
the
he
same.
said he was under an NDA with the CIA too, so he couldn't tell
These
us.
guys and their NDAs. This is Mattson's MO with his NDA.
Listen, I got an
and all this-
NDA. I can't talk
I
about
don't
it.
know. I can't tell you.
Well, and also
But,
our
you know.
last guest remote viewed the moon as well, and she had an interesting experience which she shared. But we'd love to hear yours first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have looked on the dark side of the moon, and there is an entire civilization that's there. It's a city. They've been there. You've seen bits and pieces of it. There's a sarcophagus of a woman, and basically our astronauts, when they went there, were told point blank, you ever come back here again, that'll be the last thing you ever do. They're not allowed to do it. And there is a connection between the dark side of the moon and the beings there. And the moon is artificial, by the way. It is not. It's literally
Right.
like the Death Star. It looks like it's something, but it's something
So
else.
what do they call that? A Dyson sphere, right? In essence,
It's kind of like a
thing?
Dyson sphere, like a really good diorama.
Well,
Okay.
because they even said
And
during
if you eat it, you get the diarrhea.
Yes,
Yes,
you do.
because
I don't think it's that much cheese, but
it's all
'cause they
cheese.
said-
This is
Right.
what
they
I've been
said during-
saying.
I know Apollo 13 never actually made it to the moon, but supposedly they shot some. I forgot what they actually hit a projectile against it, and they said it resonated for like 3 hours afterwards.
If you listen to some of the old radio of the astronauts in space, and I'm one that I believe that they did get up to the moon, but I also believe that they did film out in
Yeah,
in a different location with Kubrick because we had a safe face either way. That was
Correct.
a backup plan. Now the problem they have is they have all these old tapes and they have the moon tapes and then they have the BS tapes and somehow
Mhm.
someone threw them in a big box and now they got to figure out what's real and what's not and then they're going to say no we don't know where it is. But yes, Harlan, I do believe the moon landing was real. Not maybe all of them, but we were there. But there is a connection to the beings that are on the dark side of the moon and the beings that are in the rings of Jupiter and Saturn, the same beings. And this has been going
Which
back
one
and
of the
So
forth.
which
alien
beings do you
species are
think
we
they
talking
are?
about then?
I don't know I don't know the species or what to call them, but I've seen a connection that there is a connection to both of them. They really are operating out of the rings of Jupiter and Saturn. They're mining them right now for material. It's a wealth of material in the rings, and
Yeah, I believe it.
they are dictating certain things to the beings on the moon. Now, I think it was created and put there to help artificially seed our planet,
Right.
but I haven't been back enough to sit there and go, "Hey, I got a couple questions,"
So
whatever.
Dorothy, who is our last guest, she posited that she said she looked, and she said that it's a nightmarish landscape. She said there's lizards there, and they are actually raising humans as food sources.
Well, that's been done on this planet too.
Right.
Um,
And even Eric posits the idea that one of the things of why he can't sleep at night um, is that there's something to be said about aliens growing us as food sources. In other words, the Earth is a big pen, and we're here to be eaten, in essence, by whatever.
well,
I don't know that I
And
buy that,
it
but
sounds like from what people are saying that have remote viewed the moon, that everybody's alluded to structures. They've alluded to certain beings being there. Even if you listen to the original Apollo mission when they went to the moon, it sounded like they said switch to a secure channel because they were saying we're not alone.
they said
As
Santa
they're
Claus is here,
right.
and
Yeah.
that was the Santa's here,
Hmm.
and that was their inside way. They came back from that, and I just took everybody to NASA twice, and we went, over at the Kennedy Space Center. And I want to apologize, Dave. Dave came down with his soon to be, I believe, and I could not get away because I live in hell. And I apologize to you for not being able to meet up.
No
But
problem.
but there was a lot of other talk, and you hear the hearsay from within the Brotherhood that something out there scared the hell out of them and they didn't know how to handle it and they were under an oath. Now, when you get to Carl, knowing one of his best friends is Ingo Swan, and Ingo was a
mhm.
CIA guy, and there was going to be conversation between the two. I'm sure of it. I'm sure he had to sign some kind of NDA just as a backup to, CYA, cover your ass,
Well,
for the
yeah,
most part.
and Carl told us that flat out on the show. He did work with Ingo Swan. He remote viewed the moon and other various places, and till Alex's point before, he said it scared the shit out of him. I know it scared the shit out of humanity. Which,
Well, there was, yeah. I mean, what do you think about the Buzz Antarctic, um, when Buzz Aldrin was up there and he had a heart attack and they had to get him out quickly. Apparently, what he saw was something out of this world.
oh, I
So
think,
Buzz is actually a member of my lodge.
mhm.
He's a member of Essex Lodge, again, honorary brother, because him and his dad were actual members of Essex Lodge
Right.
before he left New Jersey. What used to be Montclair Lodge 144. Um, Buzz is a tortured being. I think in many respects, but he comes by it honestly. I mean, you don't see the stuff that he saw and then remain normal. I mean, that's just, to me, that just makes no sense at all. I mean, he saw some stuff that broke him. I think Neil probably did too, which is why Neil became a recluse. And he just kept his mouth shut, never said anything.
Because
Um,
just think about the concept. We're in Antarctica or we're on the moon and we're seeing a reptilian based species, or um, I I saw more of a human looking, but that could have been a death mask. So for whatever intents and purposes, that's where it gets crazy. But let's say you're going someplace and you meet a 7, 8, 9 foot reptilian and they're talking to you, if they do or whatever. No one's going to believe you.
Right.
No one is going to believe you there. It's
Oh,
just a
but
fact.
but the other thing, if you look at Antarctica, none of the governments around the world could agree upon anything for the most part, right? Somehow Antarctica, everybody agrees on it. It's just, oh, we're there for scientific research. Sure you are.
right. Don't look
Right.
at the huge pyramid. There's no huge
Of
pyramid.
course. No. It's like, we'll take you on tours there if you pay $150,000, but you could see, like, a glacier, and
Yeah.
we'll take you home.
Yeah, I
Couple
mean,
penguins.
it must be, when all those satellite companies, because you need to have permission to go off planet. So Musk knows stuff that will blow your mind. 'Cause they
Musk
don't
is an
want to see you.
alien. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm pretty sure he is an alien,
There's no
too.
doubt.
So,
Seriously, 100%.
yeah.
I think we're on the same page with that. There's
Yeah, I
something
mean,
wrong with that.
Well,
I
and somebody asked
personally
him, "Are
think-
you an alien?" And he said he was.
He's
So
mentioned it
Alex
several
Park.
times. Like, he's like offered that freely, but I think he is here on a benevolent mission. I think he is here to, and I don't want to get political about the Doge thing and any of that nonsense, but just strictly speaking on the alien part, I believe there's an uplifting happening, or an attempt to do so to some extent. And just this whole thing of, well, we'll see where it gets us. But I'm not the only one to talk about the 3D 5D thing, and I think he's probably assisting with that on some level. I think
Yeah.
that's
I mean, it's um yeah, he's weird. He just has this look about him that is, there's certain features on people that there was a feature where he kind of like almost froze. Some reporter
yeah.
asked him a question and it was just bizarre. It was weird, and then he came back and like he was morphing into something. So that was just insane.
Wow.
But it wouldn't be the first time we have aliens in power. But getting back to what was
No,
said
it
about
wouldn't be.
food, you know, um, ever since we made the treaty with the extraterrestrials of specific races to give us back engineer their technology, and we'll let you take some people. We've created extraterrestrial biological entities. Those are the small grays, and every once in a while they get off the range, and you'll hear about human mutilations, not the cow mutilations, because apparently we are tasty. And it's like remember that show V? Was it V? The aliens come in, and it was back in like the 80s or whatever. They're really reptilian, and it was the guy that played oh my god, Mark something. He talked like this. It was very comical. Your typical 80s guy. Oh, V. Yeah, Jackal knows V. But it was about aliens come to the planet, and then what they're really doing is harvesting us for food. Yeah, I was
Right.
going to ask
So
Mark. Yeah, go ahead.
did you see that thing? Somebody who's saying, it might have been one of our guests, maybe it was even Eric, that said that he had seen a show, or there was a vision of these aliens coming down, and they look like devils, like they had horns and hooves and everything like that. They came, they fixed all the sickness, and everything that we had going on with us. Very benevolent to start out with, but they made mention, and they wanted to know and to quote unquote celebrate all of the pregnant women on the planet, and they knew where all the babies were going to be born, and every time the babies were born there was like a sort of a a light source that would shine back up into the heavens to their ship, and all kinds of stuff started going haywire because initially they were very benevolent, but there was an undercurrent of something sinister going on under the seas.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
I
remember
mean,
much more to that story, but yeah.
so Eric, Eric told you this story, or where did he see this, or
No, it
was
was a
this?
YouTube video that he'd seen, and I think he made mention of it. So yeah, something like that. I remember seeing it on YouTube. Um, and
Yeah,
switching gears for a second before I forget,
sure.
on the Templar issue, there's a story floating around on YouTube of 3 Templars that were sort of sorcerers and were co-opted by the Vatican to fight evil, where they basically are either one of them or several of them were dead and basically inhabited by spirits, and they were forced to basically fight the devil and his minions. So it's like evil fighting evil. It's
Right.
just like fighting fire with fire. They were under the sway of the Vatican, and they were sent back to basically fight against their own cohorts. In essence, very
So
interesting.
unwittingly to themselves, or they didn't volunteer it. Someone else volunteered them for
No,
the
they
Vatican.
were enslaved basically
They were
by the
enslaved.
Vatican to go back, and that's what the original, at least these 3 Templars, they were called the Forsaken.
Sounds very
Something
similar
like
to
that.
someone who built a temple in the Middle East a couple of times. Basically using the slavery of the jinn to
Oh, you're
manipulate and
talking about
control them.
what is that? Thaumaturgy? I never get that word right. I know there's theurgy, which is basically you're connecting to the above, but there's another one. I think it's thaumaturgy or something like that, or thaumaturgy, which is the control and coercion of
Of
infernal beings or other
right.
stuff like that.
And supposedly it was done through a ring which protected the wearer, and then there was a couple of books involved of secret knowledge and spells, and then he went a bit too crazy, and the demons aren't stupid, and they tricked him back into and almost they made him go nuts. It was Solomon for the most part, you know building those temples, and they were not happy that they were being used. But apparently, it was supposed to be God that allowed this to happen. So, you know, I don't know what the how their stance against God is, but God usually wins in the end, for the most
Well,
part. Dave? Have you taken Alex on anything paranormal? Have you guys did like a road trip? Like, hey, we're gonna go to this place.
Glen Alpin.
Yeah, we went to Glen Alpin, which that was a fun story, but we're actually going to be investigating a Masonic lodge shortly because there's an entity there, and they reached out to us after doing the show, and we're going to drag Alex along for that experience, so that should be fun.
You better salt him up.
Yeah, we'll
So
just pour salt on his head.
I end up, Dave has this like never say die attitude when it comes to spirits and demons. And so we went to this gorgeous house called Glen Alpin. It's on 202 in
Tempe-Wick
Harding, New
Road.
Jersey, Tempe-Wick Road in Harding, New Jersey. And it's a mansion. It's a absolutely beautiful. It looks like sort of the mansion from Clue. Like it has like one of those like enclosed conservatories and all of this stuff like that. It's really cool looking. But so we go there, and it's on its own relatively large plot of land. And I'm driving by it, and I'm just like very curious. So at nighttime, I'm driving by, and I get into the driveway of the place. It's totally dark. It's pitch black because there's no lights on the property currently. And I get to this place where there's almost like a psychic barrier of like, dude, like I don't hear a voice, but it's like this thing that overcomes me, and it's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. You are not welcome here. Don't go any further. Turn your stupid car around and beat it. And so I tell Dave about this, and Dave's like, let's go over there and kick him in the dick.
Punch them in the dick, not kick them.
Yeah, thaumaturgy. Thank you, Michigan UFO. Thank you, Wayne.
Yes.
Thaumaturgy. That's what I'm talking about. Where
Yeah.
you compel infernal beings to do your will.
That would be the teacher in Wayne.
Yeah. So Dave, tell them about obviously first your dream and then how it manifested.
Yeah, so the night before, I had a dream that I saw these tall weeds and, kind of not corn stalks, but like tall grass like that, like fescue kind of thing. And just, I saw these what looked like demonic creature shadow figures. There was definitely some shadow figures mixed in with demons, and they were all around this area. And basically, it looked like, headlights shining on them. So I was with Alex and we were driving back from Congdon Overlook at the time. And he's just like, oh, let's stop at Glen Alpin. And to his point, Glen Alpin, I believe it was Gothic revival architecture. It was built in like 1847 or whatever it was.
Yep.
And it definitely has some creepy vibes. You could even feel the energy from the road. That's just
100%.
like, yeah, get out of here. You don't want to be here. So he pulled in, and as soon as he pulled in, I knew exactly what I had seen in my dream the night before. I was just like, okay, so I could actually picture all these shadow creatures and demons just surrounding us there. And, it gives you the heebie-jeebies, but I was just like, yeah, just drive through. Who cares? And I said,
So with
don't
Dave
worry
there,
about it.
we were actually able to break through the barrier, and I couldn't do it on my own. Like it was too much. Like, but he's like dauntless. He's just like, just go through. And
Seriously.
yeah, nothing phases him. It's very interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
see that.
I kind of have a problem when I do paranormal investigations, because when people are just like, you got to get the hell out of here, I'm just like, yeah, fuck these creatures. It's like I'll punch them in the dick.
You know what? I mean, that's a great attitude to have. I know, and I have a healthy respect for some of these beings.
Oh, I
And
certainly
I
do
don't,
too, but
I definitely don't do demonic or,
Mhm.
or, and it's above my pay grade. I mean, I'll call you in next time. Like, hey, Dave,
Sure.
you want to go down to this house in Maryland right now?
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a demon that needs to be punched in the,
Well, Dorothy actually, she does a lot of paranormal hunting and stuff,
Mhm.
and our most recent guest, and she's still very interested in meeting you, Bryan. So next time you're in Jersey, we gotta do that and get together.
I will definitely be there.
Yeah.
Probably, end of May, beginning of June.
Yeah.
My world has been turned upside down recently.
Oh, dude. I'm
Sorry to hear that.
It's not you. It's funny. I've been saying this to everybody. 2025 is all about change, folks.
Mhm.
Good and
100%.
bad.
Yeah.
And my other half said, is it good or is it bad? I said, yes. Things are going to happen. There are people that are going to say, I need something different, and are being forced to make changes, whether you want to or not. And change is actually good, and it's also bad because it becomes upsetting. You get used to certain things, and if my path is totally different, I've never in my life had this drive or feeling that I have right now, that I need to do what I need to do. And it's just tough, as because I got kids, I got
Mhm.
whatever, and it's just been totally thrown upside down. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and gives you more hospital bills.
Exactly. And on top of that, as they always say, lessons are repeated until they're learned. So maybe there's
That's
good lessons and value there.
Thank you very much for that, because that is a key point here. A key point.
A key point.
A key point, because you know what? Alex has said it to me a couple of times. Bryan, you got to get uncomfortable. We had a couple of conversations and calling me out on certain things, and I appreciate it.
We had a love, dude. You know that.
No. But I said that I appreciate it. And you know what? You're going to get this year, 2025, everybody's going to get a bit uncomfortable. And some of it's going to stick around for a while until you learn like, well, we tried, we lit a little bit of a fire and you didn't do anything. And then we did this and then we did that. And now we're going to really rock your world. But it's going to be good and bad. There's going to be new beginnings, closings, endings, and it's going to be a good time for everybody. In the end, when you look back, you're going to go, wow, that sucked, but I'll go through all that again if I can get to this very point, which is probably in New Jersey someplace with these brothers. But yeah, I just worry about, honestly, I worry about you, Alex, because you're very open to things, on the esoteric and the spiritual side. And although you do know how to protect yourself, which is really, weird, but well, you kind of do. I mean, you're doing it right now. You're burning incense for a spiritual, but that's also part of the protection. But I'm telling you, you better put a bubble around your ass if you go into another haunted house, because
I got them covered.
Yeah.
Well, so there's I just listened to not a podcast, a YouTube video with this exorcist priest that was on another podcast, and he was talking about how there was a guy that he ran into that he performed several exorcisms on, and the guy was wanted to do a third eye opening video on YouTube, and he did this about 6 months prior to when the priest met him, and the demons came in right through the open third eye, and apparently turned his life completely upside down. He lost his girlfriend, lost his job, became addicted to drugs, all in like 6 months period. He was never a drug user or anything like that, and then they just absolutely ruined his life. Became homeless on the street and everything. He did several exorcisms to him, and just was unable to clear him for whatever reason. Just very, very strange that was the case.
That is super. I want to throw up your thing. This is the near death experience.
Oh yeah, that's Paolo's.
Yeah. So just so everybody's aware, when we first started the podcast, our episodes are about 2 hours long typically. And we got a lot of feedback from friends and folks. Of course, Alex has his sunglasses on, but there were so many individuals that were saying, oh, 2 hours is too long. So we started breaking the episodes up into 2 parts. And then everybody that was listening to the episodes were just like, why is it 2 parts? I have to wait a week for the next part of it.
Right.
So we started going back, and we've been putting out the full episodes because we realized that the individuals complaining our episodes were too long aren't even watching them. So
right, exactly.
It's just like, why are we catering to you if you don't even listen or watch it? So, there's 2 different playlists. So we started putting out all the full episodes again. We try to put out content every week, and 2025 got off to a little bit of a slow start. I lost my voice for about 2 weeks, and then there was some travel involved and other stuff. So
some of those demons, Dave.
Yeah,
damn demons.
Well, you know what? As weird as it sounds, typically whenever I'm doing any kind of paranormal investigation or whatever else, if there's any kind of negative or demonic entities, I usually just bind them to the feet of Jesus for judgment and send them back to where they belong. I've kind of let the higher powers take care of it.
You just don't screw around. It's like,
no, he doesn't. He doesn't at all. And it's funny. I walked through Evergreen Cemetery in Morristown, which is its own fascinating thing. And we actually didn't talk about this with Dorothy at all, and we should have. But we can always have her
should have. But
there are open portals and demon gates in the cemetery that you walk by, and you want to talk about the Potter's Field in Evergreen? I mean, it is really something. It's completely, you won't believe it, dude. You literally, it beggars belief. Go ahead.
It's actually sickening, but yeah, the biggest thing about Evergreen Cemetery, it's a non-denominational cemetery in Morristown. There's quite a few Freemasons. Actually, some of the founders were Masons, and what happened originally, there was a cemetery in Morristown right along the green, and they moved and exhumed a lot of those graves and moved them to Evergreen. So Evergreen started in, I think it was 1853, I want to say. But there's a who's who of New Jersey, the world there. Like, Forbes' grandfather's buried there. There's
Malcolm Forbes buried there.
Malcolm Forbes, and then Alexander Graham Bell's brother's buried there. And other people that go. Or there was Judge Lathrop, who was a really well-known and renowned judge. Freelandheisen, Randolph. There's a lot of towns in New Jersey named after this. The first governor of New Jersey actually is buried there. But with all that being said, the Potter's Field he's alluding to. So back then, the wealthy and the affluent had, let's just say there was extramarital affairs and other things going on. And in a lot of cases, what they would do is if they became pregnant, they would actually commit them to a mental hospital, which they went to Greystone, and they had them euthanized in a sense. So they would do all kinds of bad stuff to these individuals and end up killing them. But Dorothy was telling us there's probably about 100,000 bodies in the Potter's Field.
Which sounds crazy.
Which I'm not sure. I can't say. I can't validate it. I obviously didn't go out there with a shovel to try to figure it out. But either way, it's still. But energetically, whenever you walk through the cemetery, there are so many different places where you just feel like you can feel the heaviness. I've had some pretty cool experiences there walking through there at night, even like where there was one time we were passing a grave and you could actually smell burning flesh. And it was just like a weird, it was actually fire. It was actually two little girls that died in a house fire, and you could smell that. And it's just, there's a lot of different experiences, but I find the place super peaceful. I love walking through there, regardless of all the weird sounds and things you hear at night. And most people would probably run away, but I enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, I've been on investigations. There's another place in Thales, New York, called Letchworth Village, which is very similar to that. 28,000 acres. And all the unwanted were there. They actually experimented one of the vaccinations, like polio or something, on the candidates, which they picked up in that hospital, and from babies to all the way up to people who are like 90. And a good candidate for a vaccination back then was if you didn't die, within a certain day. But we were on, you're on a mound of hundreds, if not thousands of bodies they just dumped there. And there are times when you can smell that stuff. It's crazy. Actually, I went up to Sleepy Hollow, where the horse.
Yeah, that cemetery is crazy.
That's a fun.
Okay, here's the key.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that is the caretaker of it, not nice. I was going to use a different word. Not nice at all. But if you walk around it, there's some really big names that are buried there. And you start getting certain sensations in certain areas. You can there, and you guys are going to love it, because there are a couple of tombs that are Egyptian based. There is so much architecture there.
Nice.
That it's very much worth taking a look into. But something that came up, and because I love Michelle dearly and her husband, she's asking you, Dave, if can you bind the feet of Wayne's ex-wife for him?
I'll see what I can do.
well, yeah. I'll talk to Bob. That would be great. Yeah, it's so how do you hang out in a graveyard at night without getting arrested?
Well, so
Membership
actually
has its privileges.
Yeah, Evergreen Cemetery. So actually our friend Dorothy's the historian of the cemetery, and
Right.
I also am friends with the groundskeepers and people there. So whenever they actually welcome me there at night, because I've
Then they don't have to
reported.
really do much. Yeah.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, there's been so many times where there's individuals that have gone there to do nefarious things at night. And typically, I'll shoot them a text and be like, hey, there's a random car from the back here. Looks like they're up to no good. And they'll send the police over and have them escorted out, because
Well, that's good. So that works
people were
out great.
sleeping there. People were stealing stuff. I mean, unfortunately, they've desecrated some of the graves there and things. And what's interesting, even in Evergreen, there's soldiers from every single war buried there. Maybe I'm not sure about the latest ones. Like, I think there were certainly people from Afghanistan and Iraq. So, but they have
Wow.
Revolutionary War soldiers. There's a cluster of bones that they just buried. They didn't actually know who they were, but there was a bunch. There's Civil War soldiers buried there. So, quite an interesting cemetery. I know one of the Supreme Court justices is buried there. But to Alex's point, there's actually, and we could take you there if you want to see it, but there's a portal that, you could actually walk right up to it's a Celtic kind of stone. And it's like, as soon as you start approaching it, you could actually just feel the energy emanating from it. And, you just know it's a portal to the beyond.
So when I get back up there, it'll be the summer. And I promise to take you to a couple places. There are Bigfoot places, and then there's UFO places. I'm going to take you to an area in upstate New York. It's not that far. It's about an hour from the Bronx, which is not that far. And there's stone chambers there. You're gonna love this. The Bronx.
Bears.
And you'll the Bears. I remember that. Sausage, the Bears.
How many heart attacks does this make for you, Joe? That makes about a baker's dozen for me.
About 3 or 4, the Bears. But I definitely want to meet Dorothy too. There's something intriguing there, but for some reason the connection couldn't happen. And sometimes that's purposely done. Maybe I'm not right, or I'm not. We're not supposed to be in that energy at that point. But
I mean, none of us are right, obviously. But
that boy ain't right.
That boy. That boy got pretty lips. Sorry, it just reminded me of driving through the Blue Ridge Mountains, coming down to Florida, and all I heard was banjos the whole trip. And I'm going, and then I saw a Freemason like in the town there. I saw a lodge, and I was like, oh God, thank you. Like shit hits the fan. I'm going to exit 3. Like, son, where you off to? But one of the things, when I first started in the group, one of the things we did was a book club, and we were talking about Masonic stuff. And I don't know if you were brothers at the time and you came to that or not, but a lot of these brothers, there's a big bind or a tie between a lot of us into this esoterica and wanting to learn more. Just so you know, Freemasonry is allegory, whatever. Go look it up, Google it, or ask one to be one, and what have you. But I was always into the esoteric side because it's knowledge. So, Brothers of the Arcana, the podcast, how has that triggered the knowledge in you guys to continue going? Like, I wanted to learn more. We got to get him back here. We got to do a retreat with this one,
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if Alex has the same opinion, but for me, I've always been on a quest for knowledge and understanding. And in a world where it seems like so many folks are brainwashed and nobody really questions anything anymore, I think it's important to question everything, because clearly what we've been taught is not what truly is the case, right? And I know Randall Carlson talks about this a lot and other individuals, but even look at the younger Dryads, right? And then you look at all the flood myths from around the world. So you had the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians, the Greeks, the Hindus, the Norse, the Chinese, the Maya, the Aztecs, the Hopi. It's like, no matter where, there are all these creatures, right? So you had the serpentine, like the Naga,
Yeah.
What was it, the feathered serpent? What that they saw in like the
Uh,
Aztec and the Maya, and then
yeah.
Cyclops and the giants with the Norse. I think they had dragons or whatever it was in Chinese mythology, right? There's sea monsters in various cultures. It, it's like, were people just making this stuff up, or did we actually see this, folks? And I think even the Lenape tribe here in New Jersey, I think they talked about a great turtle that they said carried the world on their backs, if I remember correctly, from way back in the day. But
And then turtles all the way down, Brian. Turtles all the way down.
Turtles all the way down.
But the
Yeah.
point is that Alex and I, with our show especially, we're just trying to find out the truth, put out useful information. I mean, people might not agree with everything we say or might not agree with our opinions. And even our guests, we might not necessarily agree with, but it's great to have the conversations to understand exactly, where other people are thinking. And a lot of us are like-minded, clearly. And I think what's important is everybody's on a spiritual journey. We're all on this journey of life, whatever it is. And hopefully we could impact people in a positive way.
Dave is certainly on that bent to find the truth. As for me, I'm in it for the money, folks. The filthy lucre, you know what I'm saying? I want to make the cheddar. But well,
remember,
that would be nice, by the way.
half of zero is zero, Alex.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots of cheddar.
Lots of cheddar. Just
I'm gonna start throwing cheese up on.
I got some cheddar in the fridge if you want me to get some.
Some cheddar. I've always been fascinated with the idea of human potential, the idea of what we could do metaphysically, how we can restore the balance in our lives, how we can, on some level, either take control of our lives for the better or to understand ourselves better to be able to navigate life. Because honestly, and part of one of the things that I did learn at the meditation thing that we'll talk about is the idea of navigating misery, right? So this meditation thing had a Buddhist bent, and the whole idea of Buddhism is life is misery. It's dukkha. And how do you navigate all the dukkha in your life, which is like disappointment kind of thing, false expectations or unrealized expectations, all of that kind of good stuff. And there's a couple of ways of doing that. But again, it's like tools in the toolbox. How can we contribute to the betterment of our fellow man, people around us, and so on. And so that's what drives me to move forward in that space. And that's what we want to keep doing more of. I mean, our idea is to make this thing viable so we don't have to work a day life. We can do this full time, which would be amazing. So that's really what drives us.
That would be the ultimate in things. When you said, Buddha and dukkha, I stepped in a lot of dukkha recently in my life.
A lot of dookie.
My dog has, you do the right thing. You buy your kids a puppy, and the next thing you know, he's shitting all over
Old
the place.
Jed's a millionaire.
When you said, like, how do you deal with all the dukkha? And by the way, this came in and I posted it today, so I'm going to share it with you.
Go ahead.
Patience has its limits, Buddha.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's amazing.
That is amazing. But let me remove that. Sorry. How did they, I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass or a prick, by the way. How did you learn all this at this retreat if no one's speaking and no one's writing and no one's reading? I'm surprised Dave never asked you that question.
Through osmosis.
Yeah, it's like,
no, he explained it to me when he got back from the retreat. Actually, when he was driving home, it sounded like he was able to actually communicate with his instructor. So I guess you can't talk to other individuals there, but you could actually have those conversations. It sounded like, but I'll leave that to Alex.
So yeah. Here's something that's very interesting, and I tell people about this. I do this with my kids, and I thought possibly, are you jumping into telepathy and telepathic communication and some people will call it mind speak when it gets into the paranormal, like cryptids and Bigfoot, because there's been reports of this. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to clarify the rules with the kids, because I'm thinking of a color means something from the rainbow. Not, I'm thinking of a color, seafoam green. No, not seafoam green, not burnt sienna, like not cerulean blue. Give me red, orange, green, blue, whatever.
You're just going with all the Sherwin-Williams colors, right?
Yeah, well, like here, I'm thinking of a
Pantone
Blue
palette
colors
jeans.
of
in
the
my head.
year.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a palette in my head. But I've done that, and the problem is my oldest thinks too much. She doesn't think. My youngest is super intuitive. Let me tell you, folks. And when you meet her, and one day you will meet her, hopefully, because she'll be going to a lodge or whatever, and hopefully you guys will be there, be able to be there. She knows stuff, and she doesn't have the comprehension of why she's knowing this about you. I mean, she said some things about people, and I got it because I do this. Um, and I was like, holy crap, this kid is like real good at what she's doing. And so maybe I was thinking, is there anything of telepathic communication taking place at this retreat? Which I'll probably find out from you a little bit later on, a little bit more privately. But
Mm,
did you
well,
try that? I mean,
so the Vipassana is probably the most powerful meditation I've ever learned. It beats the pants off of TM or even warrior meditations or other stuff like that, because it actually is nothing. It is not an outward meditation. It is merely a sit there silently and be done unto. In other words, it's something where you are sitting there like coral in the water, and the water is going back and forth through you, right? And you're not doing anything about the water, but the movement of the water through the coral has this effect that allows. It's basically the idea of be still and know that I am God, right? Or work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God that worketh in you, right? So it's that idea of it's the only way to not crave good things or not avoid bad things. Just be good with all of it, because that's what life is, right? So you're transparent to the transcendent in that respect, completely so. And it's a very tough discipline. It's taught over 10 days because you have to build capacity. So it's taught like a martial art, in essence. It's taught in
oh,
pieces. So you take pieces of it, and then it's like, go forth for a couple of days and practice what I taught you. And then you go forth silently and you do that. And then you go back to the teacher and he teaches you more. So they're taught in like sort of like modular pieces. And by the end of the 10 days, you have the full art of it. So that's kind of how that gets taught, which is very interesting. What I loved about it, as opposed to just it being a philosophy, it's done in 3 parts. The first part is seti, which is, these are all Buddhist terms in the Pali language, which is what Siddhartha Gautama spoke back in the day. So that one is called morality. So every religion in the world can teach you morality, right? Do good things, don't do bad things. The second one is called samadhi, and that is basically mind mastery. So you become stronger in your mind, you develop mindfulness, you develop loving kindness, all kinds of stuff like that, to be able to guide your mind so that it's not a monkey mind anymore or as much. And the third one is there's a term for it which is slipping my mind at the moment, but it's basically panya. I'm sorry, is the word, and that is inner wisdom. The only way to develop inner wisdom is experientially. So what you do is you have to practice it. There has to be a gestalt, much like being a mason. To those who are masons, what happens in the lodge room when you get raised has to be done experientially.
Practice.
Correct. Because you could read all about swimming, you could watch every movie on swimming, but unless you get in the water and swim, you're never going to truly understand what swimming is, right?
Right.
Unless you have a certain meeting with 3 different individuals, which helps you to transcend to a different place, you're never going to fully understand what a mason really is,
Right.
because you're not going to understand that journey until you actually take the journey. And we'll leave that at there. But so you understand, that's why it's a bit more like a martial art than anything, because people can tell you all day, every religion out there can say do good things, don't do bad things, but until you actually develop a metric, a rubric through which you can act to take you from point A to point B, it's not useless. It's not useful information. It's abstract. You have to be able to live it on your own skin. So that's kind of that's what this endeavors to do.
Right, and again, someone was asking, what's the name of it again that you were?
It's called Vipassana meditation.
Vipassana.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is it's absolutely free of charge. They don't cost you anything. They feed you, they house you for 10 days. They feed you 2 meals a day plus tea in the afternoon with some fruit. It's all vegetarian stuff. And it's really very cool, but it's a boot camp. It's absolutely a boot camp.
I don't think it would be good for everybody that's there, for the most part. Well, you know what? You don't know until you try it.
There were two 20-year-old girls that were found dead, having jumped out of that area over the course of time. I'm not sure exactly how often this happened, but there were several that one was like 20, the other one was 22, and one of them was found by the side of the road dead and whatever, because you have to have the mental capacity and the mental maturity and toughness to put up with your own memories and your own inner recesses of your mind. There's going to be stuff coming up that you're not going to want to see. And there's going to be stuff. So, ideally, probably if you're younger, maybe wait a while. They say you got to be at least 30 before your brain is fully developed. And so, maybe it's something that, maybe you do more towards middle age.
Right. So Wayne, I believe, is asking, is there something specific to the order that talks to remote viewing, telepathy, etc.?
Project
Which order are you referring to, Wayne?
I'm thinking he's referring to Freemasonry.
Yeah, no. Freemasonry doesn't teach you to remote view or telepathy, but sounds like Project Stargate from the CIA.
Yes, it does. I mean,
well, but all right, so they're going to be snarky, but I'm going to try to answer you a little bit more directly, Wayne, and tell you that no, within the bounds of the canon of the fraternity, there is not what you're discussing. However, there are things that are tangential to Freemasonry, obviously Golden Dawn, other things like that. And then you get into other things like the Monroe Institute, for instance, right, with out-of-body traveling. Well, so you're equating Templar and Freemasonry there, and I, some people would definitely debate that
difference
with you.
Yeah, that could be a
So there's an entire discussion to be had there as to whether there's a connection between the two.
So there, I would say that there is a little bit of a tippy toe, a pinky toe of Freemasonry in Templars. Get this little toe, because they want some kind of structure or whatever. But you're talking about another totally different entity or organization, and let me tell you, that hierarchy that breaks into, you can get lost in that fray right there.
And actually, Tim Hogan on our podcast talked about Templarism and Freemasonry, and some people feel stretches things a little bit, but there's definitely ties to it. And he even talks about the Noahites, which was the original story of Noah and the Ark, and then Solomon. And we could have kind of went in two directions as Masons, but as they say, Freemasonry is a beautiful system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated with symbols. I'll stop there. But with that being said, there's everything has a meaning, and there's symbolism, and then there's also the contemplative part of Masonry, which you're supposed to look at the symbols and reflect upon. And there's a lot of individuals that don't recognize that or don't understand it. But and to Alex's point, when it comes to meditation, prayer, super important, but
Right.
it certainly, you have to refine your mind, and you really need to practice that, because a lot of people will say I can't meditate, or they get distracted really quickly. So you could
I'll
certainly
be honest.
develop. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can be honest, Alex.
100%, Dave. I'm going to be honest. So I will tell you that I don't think most people know how to pray, and I don't think most people know how to meditate. I think what we pray, the way we pray, is like we're praying to Santa Claus for some sort of gift, to be, or fearing that some calamity will befall us. There's a lot of superstition. There's a lot of stuff. That's why I think it's important to understand, when you pray, how do you pray? What is the martial art of praying, right? What's the martial art of meditating, and things like that, which can really take you in some interesting places.
It's this journey through paranormal, high strangeness, cryptids, ghosts, esoteric, um, the history that Brothers of the Arcana tries to dive into, I try to dive into. It's never ending learning. And if you're not ready to be told you're doing it wrong by a dozen people, and they may be right and they may not be right, because there's a lot of opinion there versus what really is. And you've
Yeah.
got to discern, I'm trying to be polite to people, but there's sometimes these people that are coming up and they say that they know what they know. And I'm like, I know you don't know what you know, but I'm not going to call you out on it. I would try to steer you, like, you may want to look into this book or this direction. I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong. There are some older people within certain organizations that will tell you you're doing it wrong. In my day we were doing it. Yeah, it was 1940, whatever. Women were at home having babies, and you spent as much time as you wanted at a lodge, or
Right.
whatever you did. I know that, it's not like, God, I want this and I want that. Mostly for me, I've changed the whole thing of, I don't know what you want from me, and what you expect of me, but please let me know. I'm trying to do, I'm trying to anticipate that path. And I've changed, trust me, I have changed my attitude and everything about it. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to argue with you. I don't want any more negativity in my life. That's all it
Yeah.
begets, is negativity. Now, that doesn't mean that you're, like, oh, Dave never argues. Like, he always, he doesn't want the Chinese food or the pizza. But, I'm just saying, but it's like, don't mistake
Dave
that
wants
for
both.
being a pushover. Yeah, yeah, seriously. I'll be
I'll eat
with you.
three.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever there's
You
eating,
gotta
I'm
sit all
there.
three. It's like, just
Right.
throw in another mix too. I don't care.
Yeah. But Italian. Oh God.
Yeah,
Whatever.
absolutely. When
Um,
when you come up, we got to go to Laco's in Jersey City.
Oh my God, we got to go to Laco's. That place
can I
is
wear a bib?
awesome.
Can I wear a bib
You
like
can
another
You're
person
gonna
I
need
know?
to wear a bib.
Yeah, okay.
We'll put a bib on you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Is there a
You can
secret
borrow
door
Father
anywhere?
Pat Contreras' bib.
That's what I was going
we can.
for. Pat,
Yeah.
I love when Pat just comes out and he's got that thing, and I'm like, you know what? Why the hell didn't I think of that? It's genius, but it looks a little bit weird.
It's a crime against fashion, but there it is.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
By the way, if
Um,
you have both your grandfather's Masonic rings and you're not a Mason, or if you have any family members' rings, you're not a Mason, do not wear them. It is not liked by many Freemasons. And if you are a male and you want to honor your family and their Masonic heritage, go join a lodge. And then you'll be
right.
able to get to wear those rings without a problem. I actually had a conversation with a gentleman who's from New York, great guy, and his son was wearing his father was a Mason, so his grandfather's, wearing his grandfather's ring. And I said, I'm not here to tell you, you can do whatever you want, but it's frowned upon, and they don't like it.
Yeah,
And
it's stolen
and
valor. I mean,
right,
in that sense.
exactly. And I said the best thing
So,
you and your son can do to honor your father is to become brothers, and then that would be amazing. And so now him and his son are becoming brothers.
oh,
So
that's great. Glad to hear that. Very nice.
which is fantastic. You want to wear the ring? Trust me, it's not that difficult. and there's some wonderful people here that will treat you better than family. Okay,
Yeah, I
they're
would be
right in
remiss.
front of me right now.
I noticed somebody was talking about the conspiracy theories in masonry, and I could tell
Yes,
you,
here it is.
even though there's plenty of them, it's my favorite is when they're just like, yeah, the Masons run the world. It's just like, well, let me know what lodge that is because I'd like to join it.
Yeah,
Because
I'm joining
it's
that
like
one.
we can't even figure out how to pay the electric bill half the time. But
we have problems with pancake breakfast and beefsteaks. I mean, come on.
Exactly, it's like the pancake
but
breakfast conspiracy.
Brian's point before, and I'm not. This is in no way diminishing or saying anything negative, but there are certainly individuals in the fraternity that they don't understand what Freemasonry truly is. They joined it for the wrong reasons. Maybe they got into it just to be friends with additional people or for business purposes or whatever else. But when you really start going down the rabbit hole and you start doing the research and you actually, like Alex, and if you notice, we put up, we started what we call an educational series so you could see the quantum entanglement vibration in Freemasonry. So a non-Mason could watch that lecture, but we also just did a geometry lecture Alex did recently. We're going to be putting up more of those as well. But with that being said, there are so many symbols and avenues you can go down and rabbit holes. You just start looking into every symbol. You could literally spend a lifetime looking into this. And I feel what's lost in this world is that people don't do that research anymore. They just want to be told whatever.
Right.
Everybody reads on the internet, the Masons of the Illuminati. Even one of my, I knew a guy for like 25 years, and during COVID, he sent me a message and he's just like, the Masons are behind this COVID thing. And it's just like, really? I was like, that's awesome. I was like, how do you know that? I was like, I'm a Mason. It's like, I didn't get the memo on that one, but great.
Now,
thanks.
Was that it? Was that in the trestle board?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Their constant refrain is, well, you're just not high enough up in the organization to know what's really going on.
Yeah, once you're 33rd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know 33rds. Trust me. Some of them are real knuckleheads.
That's an understatement.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
there's certain branches, I just laugh. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yep, that's right. I don't know. I don't know anything. I met a gentleman named Bernard, older gentleman, was in the Korean War, and he was a Rosicrucian brother and whatever. And some woman in this group that we're in started talking about what the Masons are and how, there's a 666 degree. I'm like, no, there isn't. And she said something very disparaging, and Bernard, who is like Mr. Peace and Love, was like, what the F are you talking about? And I'm like, blow it down, Bernard. You're going to blow a gasket here. Blow it down. But crazy.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. But, recently, and I'll call it out, there was a wonderful brother, Austin Mitcher. He was 105 years old, recently passed away from pneumonia. But he actually worked on rocket telemetry with NASA for the original Apollo missions and things. And he was a World War II vet, incredible guy. He was a Mason for 81 years. And
81 years of duty.
Even at 104 years old last year when they honored him, he was still driving and he could walk and talk like he was of sound mind, and he was the lodge historian. And he could tell you because his father was one of the founders. His father was actually one of the founders of the lodge. So
that's
it's incredible, and just the wealth of knowledge and everything. And I know Alex had a close friend and mentor, and Jack Durachi as well, who was a longtime Mason. There are just some
Korea era Marine. He's the one that him and Bill Mason. So it's a funny story. So Jack was a Korea era Marine. He was in the Frozen Chosun. He was in many famous battles in that war. He fought with fighting Al Ireland and a couple of other famous folks in that war. So him and this other guy, Bill Mason, who was a career Newark cop. So these guys are impressed by no one, basically. So
right.
Buzz was a member of the lodge. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin was a member of the lodge, and he was falling upon some hard times mentally at that time. He was drinking, doing other stuff. He wasn't paying his dues. And when people are like, "Oh, when you get into the fraternity, you can never get out." Yes, you can. Just don't pay your dues for a couple of years, and they'll kick you right out.
They'll kick you right out.
Yeah. So the problem is that so year after year he wasn't paying his dues, and of course, like they're like, "Buzz, you got to pay your dues. You're not better than anybody else. Everybody's on the level," which means all
Right.
Masons are
We're all
treated
equal.
exactly the same, irrespective of who you are out in life. In the lodge, everybody's the same. So so they told him, "You got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues." He laughed it off because he's a national treasure. What does he care? So finally they took him and saloon style grabbed him and threw him out of the lodge, and they said, "Don't come back until you pay your dues, or don't come back." So what ended up happening next meeting, Buzz came, he paid his dues, and then he demitted from the lodge and ended up moving down to Texas. I think it was first Ohio and then Texas. And so he left New Jersey Freemasonry. During my year in 2016 as master of Essex Lodge, Buzz came up to tout his new book at that time, and we went up to Ridgewood to Bookends, which I'm sure know, Bryan, being in that area.
I know it.
And we went there, and I went with a certificate, and we re-inducted him into the lodge. And I said, "I want to fix a past mistake. We want to reinduct you into not only your lodge but your father's lodge." So Essex Lodge is the successor of Montclair Lodge. Yeah, and now he's once again a member of New Jersey Grand Lodge. So
hasn't paid one due since, but
hasn't paid a dime since. But he's an honorary.
He's an honorary brother. He doesn't have to pay dues.
No, I know.
And that reminds me of the story of President, I think it was Truman, right? When President Truman was in the White House, he went to lodge, and at the time, I want to say it was his gardener was actually the worshipful master, which is the president of the lodge, and.
Right.
Even though he was the president and arguably, leading the greatest country of the free world at the time, whatever you want to argue, it's like, we're not going to get into politics. But the point being is he sat there and said, well, he's running the lodge and he was just an ordinary brother there. It didn't matter because everybody's on the level when you're in the lodge room.
Right.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny because the Secret Service went there and they were banging on the door and they were trying to get in. And the Tyler, who guards the door, was just like, "You guys can't come in." And, apparently they drew guns on them and everything else. And then they're just like, "What the heck's going on?" So President Truman came out and he said, "Listen, if you want to know what goes on in that room, then join. Here's a petition."
Yeah. And that's, I know this, I'm trying to get one of my friends who lives in DC, used to live about 4 blocks away from the Washington DC Masonic temple and tower. And I'm like, you're in the government, you're in the military, you need to be in this brotherhood. And he disregarded it. But I'm telling you, it is major league, and that's why they're like, I've always stated that if I was ever in an office like the presidency, I probably would be surrounding myself with a boatload of Freemasons and Eastern Star and
just like George Washington, right?
Yeah, there's a trust factor, and there's look, you have an obligation to do certain things in life and better live up to it.
So I'm sure you know this story, Bryan, but exactly speaking on your point, Norman Schwarzkopf Sr., the general's father, who was a Mason, was tasked with building the state troopers for the state of New Jersey. It was relatively early on in the 20th century when this happened, and he said, "You got to bring 100 guys. They don't have to be police or whatever to start this." And he said, "It better be guys you trust." So he picked 100 different Freemasons, and they all that's how they began the state troopers. It's really a fascinating story.
Look at George Washington during the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
Every single general he had under him in the command was a Mason. He said he trusted no one other than Masons.
And
Now, one of
I
them was Benjamin or Benedict Arnold, who
Benedict
was also a
Arnold,
Freemason. But
yeah,
there's
well,
always going to be a bad apple
yeah,
somewhere.
there was always a bad
true
apple.
story.
That's why we kicked them out of lodge. Don't pay your dues, you're out. No.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't want to get into Freemasonry with everybody, and it's kind of getting late, and I don't want to keep you guys because you guys, working for a living. So who's the next guest on the show, and what are your, like, where can they find you? Where can they find both of you, and where can they find the show? I know it's YouTube, but
Sure.
you do the social
Under a
media
rock, usually.
under a rock.
Yeah. So I mean, it's Brothers of the Arcana on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Music. The podcaster.
I think our
We're pretty much
iHeartRadio too, and places.
iHeartRadio, exactly. Whatever, and all fine, gourmet stores everywhere. It's a fun show. It's a great show. We've had a bunch of great guests. One of your, I saw a comment earlier asking you, Bryan, if you're going to have Tim Hogan on. You should definitely do that.
I'm trying.
Woo Riders DG. And I will say, in the meantime, come and check out our Tim Hogan episode. I think you're gonna love it.
Please do.
And it might give you, because what we asked of Tim when he came on the show, and Scott and a lot of these other guys that do a lot of podcasts, we said, look, we want you to talk about stuff you've never talked about before. We want you to take it, or if you've talked about it, we want to go in a totally different direction, sort of virgin territory. Let's get out there, and because, rehashing, okay, go back to Tepley, this, that, and that. I mean, he's talked about that to the nth degree. Let's talk about some new stuff, right? So that's what we did, which is a lot of fun.
Well, and that's what you get from Brothers of the Arcana. I'll tell you, if you are a brother in the fraternity and you watch some of these episodes, especially the one with Scott, well, you get it from Hogan too, Brother Hogan, but
yeah,
he was dropping, like, he was just boom, boom, and I just started
Easter
smiling
eggs everywhere.
Yes,
right.
Yes, yeah, Easter eggs everywhere, and that's what's great about it. But they're very, very entertaining. They're informative, and you don't necessarily have to see their beautiful faces. It's always nice to see them on there. And
voices for radio.
Faces made for radio. Exactly.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to, whatever. But that's where you can find them. I'm sure if they have any other questions, you can go through me, Third Eye Live Show. I will forward it to my brothers right here.
Yeah,
Alex
and we try to respond to every comment. Our email's up there too. If drop us an email.
You can reach us at podcastbota@gmail.com. Certainly, we're happy to take ideas. We're also looking for more guests on the show. So Wayne, we'd love to have you guys and to be on your shows and kind of share time on there. As you said very kindly before, JV was awesome.
Right.
Would love to get Bigfoot Michigan Rob out there and some other guys that would be interested in being a part.
And in terms of upcoming guests, I mean, we have a few folks queued up. We're definitely gonna have Eric back on as well, because
that'd be like 3, right?
It would be 3, but he told us, like, especially after this extra large telescope and with some of the stuff that NASA's put out recently, and he's hoping that they put out some more classified information on UAPs and such, that he could talk about it on the show. But he told us he has a bunch of things that he wanted to cover. And as you know, Eric just goes on, and we could probably have a 20-hour episode with him and he'd still be talking. But we certainly are going to have some fun episodes coming up. And, we look forward to talking to a lot of new individuals. If you know anybody, certainly send them across, and we look forward to talking to some of the people on this forum too.
I'm going to hook up you guys with my friend Mark Eddy, and he knows a ton of people, especially people that do Ancient Aliens and some of the other programs, producers that produce some of Scott's stuff and some big names. I'll also try to get Randall's stuff for you guys. So
that would be amazing. Would love to talk to Brother Randall. That would be fun.
And brother Tim's he told us, because he was just at a speaking engagement with him recently. He said he was going to put us in touch, but I know he was traveling to. He was
Tim's
just
very,
recently.
very busy right now.
Yeah.
He's had a state of like amazing travel that he's done.
Yeah.
So, we loved him. Every time he comes to New Jersey, we always show him a good time, and we've become very close with him. So, yeah, good stuff.
I mean, when you meet brothers that are like these and genuine and real, it makes life a lot easier. But I want to thank you guys both. Something
Thank you
I
very
do.
much.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I mean, I wanted to turn the tables on you, but I can't because Alex not wearing one of the bracelets or whatever. No. I was just joking.
No bracelets here.
They don't make noise. They don't make noise whatsoever. Who knows? Maybe I'll come up a little bit, sooner, or I don't know.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And I can tell you, my uncle who lives down in Boca really wants to do a C5. So
I'm working on that, and I'm telling you, I'm working on doing something like that. And I'd love to have you guys come down, and maybe even broadcast from down here. Like we're broadcasting live from these beautiful.
How cool would that be? We'd look forward to that big time.
Yeah, I'd have to get a new microphone and whatever. So I'm gonna go get some wires and cables and go into my gig bag. But I can't thank you both enough. Much love to you and the families and the life.
Thank you
and whatever.
so much.
And of course, I'm
thank
sure
you very much. Honestly, this is an incredible experience.
It's an honor to join you, and God bless everybody. Thank you for listening in tonight.
Yep. And it's a pleasure, and all these people, thank you very much. And I end it with another song that I wrote, because if it wasn't for you guys, I got to promote myself somewhere.
Of course you do.
It none of this would happen. So thank you. Good night. And just so you know, I'm going to go into my phone and tell you who is the next week's guest. And his name is Beyond Cortman, and he is the creator of Yes Timepieces Watch. And he is going to be releasing some secret perks for Yes Watch and discount codes just for Third Eye Live. But you got to watch next week. Until then, thank you again. I'm going to end the stream, and then we're going to have music, and I'll see you in the background. Bye.
You, it's always been you. God showed me you. I have been searching decades for you. I found you, I lost you. My heart is broken without you. My soul aches for you. I need you, I want you. My days are filled with you. I've seen the future with you. My home is with you. I have felt the future with you. My nights are filled with you. Love is you. True love is you. My happiness is you. Every past life is with you. My dreams are filled with you. Life is meaningless without you. My future is with you. I will fight for you. I will defend you. I will give up my life for you. Whatever it takes for you. Nothing else matters but you. I love you. I love you. I love you. God showed me you. I have been searching decades for you. I found you, I lost you. My heart is broken without you. My soul aches for you. I need you, I want you. My days are filled with you. I have seen the future with you. My home is with you. I have felt the future with you. My nights are filled with you. Love is you, true love is you. Love is you, true love is you. My happiness is you. Every past life is with you. My dreams are filled with you. Life is meaningless without you. My future is with you. I will fight for you. I will defend you. I will give up my life for you. Whatever it takes for you, nothing else matters but you. I love life is meaningless without you. My future is with you.